All right, today we are jumping headfirst into a real high-stakes detective story. The mystery? Well, it's about predicting the future. And our detectives? They're actuaries. Their number one tool for cracking the case is a shape you learned about in grade school, a simple triangle.
Think about it for a second. The entire insurance industry, all of it, is built on this one massive promise. If something bad happens, don't worry, we'll pay for it. But how on earth can they make a promise like that when they have absolutely no idea what the final bill will be or even when that bill will show up?
And this isn't some small academic puzzle. We are talking about trillions of dollars spinning around the globe. You know, if you get this wrong, an insurance company can literally go out of business. But getting it right? Well, that requires a very special kind of detective work. And that's exactly what actuaries do. So, let's start right there with that fundamental challenge. It's called reserving. How do you put aside the right amount of money today for a cost you won't actually know for years to come?
Just imagine this, a car accident that happens today. It could involve medical bills, legal fees, things that might not get settled for 5, maybe even 10 years. An insurer has to create what's called a reserve, basically a giant pool of money right now to cover that eventual, totally unknown cost. If they set aside too little, they can't pay their claims. But if they set aside too much, they're just tying up money that could be working for them. It's a real balancing act.
So, how do our actuarial detectives actually solve this thing? Well, they build a kind of time-traveling clue board. It's called a runoff triangle, and it is the absolute key to organizing all the clues from the past to make a really educated guess about what's going to happen in the future. Okay, now this might just look like a spreadsheet, but it is an incredibly powerful way to organize time. See, each row represents a group of claims from a specific year they happened. The columns then track how much money was paid out on those claims as time went on. So the top left half? That's the past. Those are our known facts, our clues. But the bottom right, the part full of question marks, that's the future we have to figure out.
So let's just quickly break down the two key terms here. The origin year is simply the year the accident happened. This groups all the claims into a class or a cohort, like the class of 2023. Then the development year tracks that class over time. It shows how its total costs grow or develop as more bills come in and get paid out.
But hold on, before you can even build this triangle, you have to make a really important decision. How are you going to group your clues? You've got to sort all that raw claims data into consistent cohorts.
And there are two main ways to do this. You can group by accident year, which means you lump together all claims from events that happened in, say, 2023. Or you can use underwriting year, which groups all claims from policies that were sold in 2023. The first one tells you about the risks out in the world during a given year, while the second one tells you if the policies you sold that year were actually priced right.
Okay, so we've got our clue board, it's all set up. Now it's time for the investigative techniques. How do we fill in those question marks? Well, actuaries have two main methods in their toolkit.
The most common tool by far is the chain ladder method. And the big assumption here is that the future is going to look a lot like the past. It works by calculating how claims have historically grown from one year to the next. These growth rates are called link ratios. Then it just applies those same growth patterns to the most recent claims to project their final ultimate cost. It's kind of like predicting a teenager's final height based on how fast they've been growing over the last couple of years.
But what if you don't have a lot of good past data? Or what if the past was just really weird? That's where the Bourne-Uter-Ferguson method comes in. This technique is more of a blend. It takes the insurer's initial best guess about the total costs and combines it with the actual claims data that's come in so far. This makes it perfect for new lines of business or when your past data is just too wild and volatile to be a reliable guide. And now, we get to the plot twists. Because let's be honest, if predicting the future was as simple as just projecting the past, our detective story would be pretty boring. The truth is, the past can, and very often does, lie.
And this is where the real detective work gets super tricky. The past isn't always a reliable witness, right? A huge catastrophe, like a hurricane, can completely blow out one year's data. A sudden change in the law can make claims way more expensive, almost overnight. Heck, even something as simple as a new computer system can change how fast claims get paid, which messes with the very patterns our actuary is trying to follow. This is exactly why actuarial work is really both a science and an art. As this quote says, reserving is just not an exact science. You could have two different detectives, two different actuaries, looking at the exact same set of clues, and they could come to two totally different conclusions. At the end of the day, so much of it comes down to professional judgment.
So let's get to the verdict. Why does all of this incredibly complex analysis matter so much? Well, it's because accurate reserving is the absolute bedrock of the entire insurance industry.
I mean, the scale here is just staggering. We're talking about over $3 trillion in the global general insurance market alone. And every single dollar of that is tied up in a promise that's only possible because of this kind of deep predictive work.
So, the next time you pay an insurance premium, just remember this. That price you're paying isn't just some random number. It's the final chapter of a detective story. It's the result of a really complex calculation that ensures the company will still be standing years from now to fulfill its promise to you when you need it most.
Ultimately, the past is just a collection of clues. It is not a perfect roadmap. The real challenge for actuaries and, really, for all of us, is deciding how much we should trust those clues as we try to navigate a future that is, by its very nature, uncertain. Thanks for joining me.